This painting took on many forms before I got to the final product that I will show you at the end of the video, but don't skip ahead on this one. I want you to watch the process as I go along and then look at the final result and see if you can even see my original concept in the painting. So I'm starting out here, and when I'm doing these taped off paintings, it does take a little bit of math and a little bit of kind of figuring out where I need to tape off and how that's going to look. I'm using multiple different types of tape. The green tape is frog tape and it holds really well. This blue tape is a painter's tape that I used. It's just an off-name brand that I got off of Amazon, and I got it because it had multiple different sizes that I could use. And the smaller the tape is, the easier it is to get a curved line. But I will say this tape did not hold very well, and because it was so small, I had to add larger sections of tape anyway. So this was a learning curve for me, trying to make these kind of wavy portions. But if you can't tell already, this is actually going to be an ocean scene with a sky, the ocean, and then actually a little bit of sand at the bottom. But that was the concept that I had in my mind. And yes, I do have concepts for these. Sometimes I even draw them out for what I would like to see. But for this one, I just wasn't really feeling it as I was going through each section. And this painting took probably about 2 weeks to let each section dry and come back through. And it was a little bit heartbreaking as I got through it and realized, yeah, this isn't really what I'm going for. So here I am taping off all the parts, and the green tape I'm adding just so that when the paint, as I tilt it, that it won't go into those sections. But here I am, I'm starting with the sand portion at the bottom. This is a caramel color that I made from orange and blue. I do love it. It is such a pretty color. I'm adding in a little bit of metallic for some shimmer. But if you are going through these paintings and trying to come up with concepts, no matter what type of art you're doing, don't get upset if it doesn't come out the very first try, because a lot of times my paintings don't come out the first try, and it's really not even about the painting itself. It's about the process, and it's about learning to get to the point that you can create what you want. So things don't come out for me the first time, or even the second or third time I try them. A lot of times it takes, even though you see a video and it works out great, a lot of times it takes planning and failed paintings, even though I don't like to call any painting a fail because I'm learning something from it. I should say thank you to the paintings that don't come out, really, because they're lessons, kind of like same with life. So here, after I took the tape off of these sections that you're seeing me stretch out now, I loved it. I actually even contemplated maybe just going in with a brush and brushing in some other parts, but I wanted to try to make the whole painting from fluid art. So this first section, I'm thinking in my head, yes, this is it. I love this. It's so pretty. And I still felt that way up until I started taping off those second sections that you'll see in a little bit. I love how the sand came out. The striations from the swipe are so pretty, and it was just that part, and the sky that you'll see, I still think are just perfect. But the rest of it, you'll see, gets a little bit interesting in the center. So these sections, I'm just laying down kind of stripes of the paint, and these are going to be the waves in the ocean. And I'm looking for some highlights. I'm looking for there to be all kinds of different kind of motion and colors. I'm doing a color gradient. Really, I probably should have done the darker color gradient at the bottom to be a little bit more realistic, but that's okay. Again, learning as we go on these. My sky, I'm doing mostly sky blue light as the color, but I do add in a little bit of yellow as if the sun was kind of just going down or coming up, whether you would think it was a sunrise or a sunset. So I do a little bit of yellow and orange, and honestly, this was my favorite part of the sky. It added such a pretty soft kind of glow in that area that really did simulate the sun. I loved adding the white in on top of the swipes because that really gave the striations, the look of striations of clouds. So up until this point, I am super happy with this painting, and I absolutely love the colors. I love the areas that I've taped off, and when I took the paint or the tape off, I thought, man, this is it. This is going to be super cool. So I took the paint or the tape off while the paint was still wet. And I did that so that I wouldn't have so many kind of tough lines, raised lines as the paint dried. And at this point, I am thinking, wow, I have come up with something here. I am really, really liking this. I love that the sun was right there. The yellow and the orange were right there at that horizon line. And I just thought this was looking so cool. So here we are. Next time I started on this painting again, I would put it away for a little while and come back to it. And this time I'm trying to tape off the areas that are already painted. And this, I think, is where I messed up a little bit. I decided that I wanted to add in more sections, more lines, instead of using just the blank areas on the canvas to paint. And adding in these extra portions, it just made it feel disjointed. It made it feel not so cohesive. And I started to tape off all these extra sections that I really didn't need to. I could have just simply left it as it was, and I think it would have come out much better. So this was definitely a kind of less is more. I had these extra small little triangles, and just the way everything was curved, it just started to feel too cluttered to me. And I could have stopped right here and taken the tape off and just taped off those sections. But I kept going, and it was kind of one of those moments, like in my mind, I was like, okay, I'll just work through this, and I didn't listen to my intuition, and I definitely should have. So here I am fighting with this tape, trying to tape off all these portions, and honestly, the tape took longer than the actual painting itself. But I finally got into painting the blues. And again, I love these colors. It was just these soft turquoise colors. And this part I really do enjoy. I will say what was very easy for this painting was doing each section and then tilting it. It doesn't make for as good of a video for content, but doing this allowed me to push all the paint off of the canvas, and so when I tilted the next section, it didn't bleed over into the taped off areas as much. I had tried another one of these, and I poured all the sections and then tried to tilt them, and the paint was just going everywhere all over the canvas. So here I am swiping through these colors, and again, up until this point, I am still really enjoying the colors and maybe not so much the composition at this point, but I'm still thinking, yep, this is something that I can work with. I went a little bit over my lines there, and I knew I was going to have to correct that. I should have taped off a little bit more of the blue, just because with fluid paints, it'll run everywhere. I also think that this was, like I said, I should have flipped the blues and had the light blues up by the sky and the darker blues kind of towards the middle, closer to the sand. But the dark blue that I used there, the Prussian blue, it was a little bit too harsh. I made my gradient a little bit too contrasting, and I wish I had used a little bit different blue up in that section. But I do love that I put the reflection of the sun down into the painting as well. So now we're getting down into these final pieces, and I'm loving the sky, I'm loving the sand, I'm loving the highlights in the ocean of the sun, but there's still just something a little bit off about the way that I taped those areas. So now I'm going to remove this tape, and this is when I start to realize, I also should have joined the tape differently, because the smaller tape was pulling up separate from the larger tape. And this was another thing that I had not accounted for. A little bit of paint spilled off. It was a little bit messy, but it was no big deal. I tried to grip the tapes and pull them together. But again, lesson learned on that one. And you can see here, the bottom swipe into the sand turned out really great, but I had those triangles on the side from the way that I taped that part, and I didn't love that. And I ended up having that same kind of look over at the top sections as well, and in the middle. And it's starting to look kind of symmetrical. And I had these, instead of looking wavy, it's looking like these big portions with these triangles. And then when I pulled this section off, I realized that my wave didn't really mesh with the already dried portion of the ocean that I had. So I took the tape off, and I decided that I was going to try to, while it was still wet, kind of work these sections to blend a little bit better. And again here, my gradient was just a little bit too dark, and it didn't really flow as well from the top to the bottom. One thing about me though, I am still not giving up. I want to see how this is going to come out. And so then I will know what I need to change, what I need to do different. And so I think it's totally okay to just continue along, that I just need to try to save this in some way. And I have given up on the kind of taped portions and what those shapes were, and I'm just gonna paint all the way through it and try to make it a little bit less curvy and more linear through, as if it was kind of a calm ocean with the lines of the white caps going all the way through it. I love the sky and I love the sand in this one. The water itself, I tried taping it off to get some swirls. I repainted over it multiple times, as you can see in the video, but the water still is not my favorite. I'm going to try this again, I think without the sand as well, but let me take you in for the close-ups of the sand. I love the color, and I love the tiny little bits of white added, almost like foam. And then here is the ocean. I tried to go a little bit lighter to darker and to try to get those horizontal swipes for more motion, and then a little bit of reflection of the sunrise in the water, and then the sky is my absolute favorite part here. So just a little ocean seascape swipe. Super happy about this one, and I think this is another technique that I'm going to add into my swipe technique course over the next month or so. So super, super happy with this one, and I am going to try to recreate this sunrise sky effect in another painting as well, and I think I may leave the sand out of that one, but super duper happy. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Happy painting. Bye.